the commercial written test questions for IFR and navigation section. What is the maximum bearing error plus or minus allowed for an operational VLR equipment check when using the FAA approved ground test signal? 4 degrees. After an ATC clearance has been obtained, a pilot may not deviate from that clearance unless the pilot receives an amended clearance, has an emergency, or receives a TCAS resolution advisory. When must an operational check on the aircraft VLR equipment be accomplished in order to operate under IFR within the preceding 30 days? For an airport with an approved instrument approach procedure to be listed as an alternate airport on an IFR flight plan, the forecasted weather conditions at the time of arrival must be at or above the following weather minimums. Ceiling 800 feet and visibility 2 statute miles for non-precision. On an instrument approach where a DH or NDA is applicable, the pilot may not operate below or continue the approach unless the aircraft is continuously in a position from which a stabilized descent to the intended runway can be made. A pilot performing the published instrument approach is not authorized to perform a procedure turn when receiving a radar vector to a final approach course or fix. The pilot in command of an aircraft operated under IFR in controlled airspace, not in radar contact, shall report by radio as soon as possible when passing each designated reporting point to include time and altitude. The pilot in command of an aircraft operated under IFR in controlled airspace shall report as soon as practicable to ATC when experience any malfunctions of navigational, approach, or communications equipment occurring in flight. Given a true course of 105, true heading of 085, true airspeed of 95, and ground speed of 87, the wind direction and speed, you're going to need your E6B for this. It's going to be 020 at 32 knots. With a true course of 345, true heading of 355, true airspeed of 85, and a ground speed of 95, the wind direction and speed is going to be 113 and 19 knots. True course measurements on a sectional aeronautical chart should be made at a meridian near the midpoint of the course because the angles formed by lines of longitude and the course line can vary from point to point. Which situation would result in reverse sensing of a VLR receiver? Flying a heading that is reciprocal to the bearing selected in the OBS. If ATC tells you to track outbound on the 180 radial, you should set your OBS to 180 and correct toward the CDI. You want to track inbound on the 215 radial, you should set the OBS to 035 and correct towards the CDI. When diverting to an alternate airport because of an emergency, pilots should apply rule of thumb, computations, estimates, and other appropriate shortcuts to divert to the new course as soon as possible. Refer to Figure 17. Which illustration indicates that airplane will intercept the 060 radial at a 60-degree angle inbound if the present heading is maintained? And we'll look at number 6 right here. Refer to Figure 17. Which illustration indicates that the airplane should turn 150 left to intercept the 360 radial at a 60-degree angle inbound? And number 1. When checking the course sensitivity of a VLR receiver, how many degrees should the OBS be rotated to move the CDI from the center to the last dot on either side? 10 to 12 degrees. While maintaining a magnetic heading of 270 and a true airspeed of 120 knots, the 360 radial of a VOR crossed at 12:37 and the 350 radial is crossed at 12:44. The approximate time and distance to the stations are 42 minutes and 84 nautical miles. I'll just look at the explanation on that. So you're going to cross 10 radial, 60 divided by 10 in 7 minutes, because that's how long it took, equals 42 minutes. At a speed of 120 knots in 42 minutes, 0.7 hours, you're going to travel 0.7 times 120 is 84 nautical miles. Inbound on the 090 radial, the pilot rotates OBS to 010. To the left, turns 010 to the right, and notes the times. While maintaining a constant heading, the pilot determines that the elapsed time for the CDI to center is 8 minutes. Based on this information, the ET to the station is 8 minutes. So here's just what the explanation is telling us to look at. Inbound on the 190 radial, a pilot selects the 195 radial, turns 5 degrees to the left, and notes the time. While maintaining a constant heading, the pilot notes the time for the CDI to center is 10 minutes. The ET to the station is 10 minutes. Again, it gave us that same figure, just to have a visual of it. How should the pilot make a VOR receiver check when the aircraft is located on the designated checkpoint on the airport surface? Set the OBS to the designated radial. The CDI must center with a plus or minus 4 degrees of that radial with a from indication. When using VOT to make a VOR receiver check, the CDI should be centered and the OBS should indicate that the aircraft is on the 360 radial. When the CDI needle is centered during an airborne VOR check, the omni-bearing selector should read within 6 degrees of your selected radial, which is true regarding the use of instrument departure procedures, DP chart. To use a DP, the pilot must possess at least the textual description of the approved standard departure, which is true regarding stars. Stars are to facilitate transaction between en route and instrument approach procedures. Refer to figure 53.2. There's point 2. Along the San Joaquin River, the maximum elevation figure, MAF, which represents the highest elevation of, we didn't even need the figure, non-man-made obstacles and other vertical obstacles within the quadrant of in MSL. Refer to figure 55. Westbound on Victor 448, here's 448, and we're heading west from YKN to BTG Vortec near Portland International. What minimum navigation equipment is required to identify the learned intersection? 1 VOR receiver, because you're going one direction. Refer to figure 55. Eastbound on Victor 468 from the BTG Vortec to YKM Vortec, the minimum en-route altitude at Schrott's intersection is 11,500 feet. When planning a night cross-country flight, the pilot should check for availability and status of the destination's airport lighting system. For IFR operations off established airways, the route of flight portion of an IFR flight plan should list VOR nav aids which are no further apart than 80 nautical miles. No pilot may act as PIC of an aircraft under IFR or in weather conditions less than minimums prescribed for VFR unless that pilot has, within the preceding 6 calendar months, completed at least 6 instrument approaches, holding procedures, intercepting and tracking courses using navigational electronic systems, or passed an instrument proficiency check. Refer to figure 54. Area 2. What is the ceiling of Class Delta airspace at Byron? Here's Byron. And Class Delta airspace does not exist at Byron. Refer to figure 54. Area 2 again. What is the ceiling of the Class Gulf airspace at Byron Airport? So again, here's our Byron, and it's within the shaded magenta. Fuzzy magenta? So it's going to be 700 feet AGL. You have just completed your pre-takeoff checklist and you are waiting for your takeoff clearance. Your transmitter relays has failed you and you are unable to contact tower. You should taxi to face the tower and wait for the flashing white light. What is the maximum error an altimeter can indicate before it is removed from service? And it says, please read the explanation. The answer is 20 feet. Refer to figure 52.8. Okay, here's point 8. What is the visibility required to maintain VFR at 600 feet AGL in the traffic pattern at Auburn Airport during daylight hours? So it's going to be Class Golf, since it's in the fuzzy magenta, and it's going to be 1 statute mile, just because we're at 600 feet, which is below 700 feet AGL. Does a pilot require an ATC clearance to fly through an alert area? No, ATC clearance is not required to fly through the alert area. Isogonic lines are drawn across aeronautical charts to connect points that have the same variation. You are PIC of an aircraft about to enter Class B airspace. You should adjust your speed to no more than 250 knots. Refer to figure 17. ATC has instructed you to intercept the selected radial north of the station, maintaining your present heading with 0 wind, which HSI indicates that you will comply with the clearance. And it's number C. Number 3. This is another E6B. So given a true course of 350, true heading of 358, true airspeed of 95, and a ground speed of 87, your wind direction and speed is going to be 052 and 15 knots. Refer to figure 54. Point 6. Here's point 6. And the figure 907, which is right here in this figure. The T/15 located in the Class C airspace at Metropolitan Oakland indicates the ceiling extends up to, but does not include the base of the overflying San Francisco Class B. Refer to figure 17, illustration 1. Here's number 1. If the heading of an aircraft is turned to the heading marker, You will join the selected radial after a station passage. Refer to Figure 17. ATC has instructed you to intercept the selected radial southwest of the station, maintaining your present heading with 0 wind, which HSI indicates you will comply with the clearance. It's going to be number 4. When planning a cross-country trip, you observe an isogonic line labeled 13 degrees E. You have plotted your true course to be 263 degrees. To fly this course correctly, assuming no wind correction, you must fly an actual magnetic heading of 250 degrees. Refer to Figure 53. What is indicated by the star next to the L in the airport information box at Madeira Airport, north of Area 2? Here's Area 2. Here's Madeira. The star next to the L means lighting limitations exist. Refer to Figure 53.3. Let's find point 3. Point 3. What is the indication of the flag symbol on the Madeira Airport? Oh, over here. The flag symbol means it's a VFR checkpoint. Refer to Figure 17, Illustration 2. Right here in the middle. If the heading of the aircraft is turned to the heading marker, the aircraft will not join the selected radial at any time. When navigating VFR between points that are obscured, the pilot should use dead reckoning. And another E6B question. Given your true course of 286, true heading of 281, true airspeed of 110, ground speed of 98, determine the wind and speed. It's going to be 246 at 15. What is the time and route and fuel used under the following conditions? So first you're going to need to calculate your ground speed from your true course and true airspeed, and how long it's going to take you with that ground speed of 84 knots to fly 142 nautical miles. It's about 1.7 hours. So 1 hour 42 minutes. And to calculate the fuel used, 1.7 times 6, which is 6 gallons per hour, equals 10.2 gallons. The closest answer choice is 1 hour and 40 minutes with 10 gallons. Refer to Figure 12. Under the given conditions, how much avgas is required to fly 600 nautical miles with a 12-knot headwind, pressure altitude 18,000, temperature standard, power 2,400 RPM. So here's our 2,400 RPM, and standard temperatures in the middle. What was it? Refer to Figure 54.6. What does the T/15 symbol mean in the Class C airspace? We did this one earlier. Right here, the Class C airspace upper limit changes with that sector. Refer to Figure 54.6. What does the symbol T/SFC, which is surface, located in the Class C airspace at Metropolitan Oakland, indicates? The upper limit of the Class C airspace changes within this sector. Refer to Figure 53.2. There it is. While on a VFR flight to the northwest, what does the MEF located east of the Johnston Airport represent? Okay, here's Johnston. To the north. And right here is our 1,600 feet MSL. When using an electronic database to planify as the PIC, you must check calculations and confirm that the database is current. Refer to figure 52. While in cruise flight, what altitude and MSL would ensure the obstacle clearance for a flight from point 2 to point 8? Let's zoom out a little. So down here's 2, and up here is 8. Up here we have our, it looks like our 2,600 MEF. How many satellites are required for the GPS receiver to perform receiver autonomous integrity monitoring, RAIM? At least one satellite, in addition to those required for navigation, must be in view. Which ground-based navigation system has the capacity of providing distance? A VORTAC. Refer to figure 17, which HSI indication is correct if the aircraft is northeast of the VOR to intercept the 360 radial to the station. And that's going to be number 2.